Hey YouTube, this is Jack here, and we're back. The RwdyAudi taxi's coming back to life. Right before I went on vacation, you guys seen me get this engine put back together. I had to tear that one apart. Well, on this video here, I gotta service my transmission. So what better time to show you how I made my transmission rear-wheel drive than to service it? Figure that's the easiest way to show you. I've done some looking out there on YouTube, and there's not a lot of how-tos on this, but the ones that are there are, I feel, are kind of difficult. So I want to give a simplified version of exactly how to do that. But before I can do any of that, I need my cherry picker. It's out at the shop right now where Jordan's car's at. So we're gonna head on out there and go get the cherry picker so we can hopefully take this engine off the stand today, that transmission, clean it, put fresh fluids in it, and show you how I rear-wheel drive converted it, which isn't difficult, mind you, but there's a lot of things in the car that you'd have to take off to show somebody how to do it. More importantly, that somebody being you. I have it out of the car right now. Really easy to do, and I can go out to the LSA6 and show you exactly how you need to trim your axles. So it makes life really simple because that one's off the ground. So we're gonna go out there, get the cherry picker, and come back here and power wash this, and then we'll drain the fluids and I'll show you guys. Race Wars is officially around the corner now. By officially, I mean this is August, next month is September. September 12th through the 14th is S4 Race Wars. If you don't know what S4 Race Wars is, I'll put a link in the description below. Go check it out. It's still not too late to register for that. Everybody's welcome. It don't matter what chassis you are on. It's called S4 Race Wars because we're all a bunch of Audi kids. I'll put a link in all this stuff in the description for you guys. I'd hope to see some of y'all there. But fast forwarding, we also have to finish Jordan's car, and we have to finish Corey's car, all so we can roll out there. Corey's pretty much done. We're gonna go to Vast Performance while we're at Race Wars, and we're gonna get the A6 retuned after 10 years. So that'll be interesting to see the new dyno numbers. By the way, it does make 386 and 417 as it sits, 10-year-old tune. Those turbochargers, that old engine. So that engine dynoed a year ago at 386, and I blew it up a year later. I don't technically consider it blowing it up because there's no hole in the block. So with that being said, I think that's about it for right now. I'm gonna go ahead and jump in the truck, and we're gonna all the way out to the farm. All right, we are here. Oh, I love my daily 300,000 mile Yukon. Grab my phone here. All right, so now we are out at the farm here, and there she is. There she is, dirty as all hell, but here she is. And there's the LSA6. This will probably be done in. I'm gonna try to have it running before the end of the year, but I've got a lot of things to do to it. Obviously, you gotta get the finish putting the cage in it, cells, tanks, all of it. This is a first for me. This one is, but here nor there. So once again, I'm not going to show you guys how to take your diff out. There's plenty of other YouTube content out there. This is all just to simplify it for you. So that's what we're going to do right now. Here is the rear diff. This is a B5A4 diff or B5S4 diff. This is a ruined C5A6 diff. This one, I might have had some slag on a ring gear. Where is it at? On a ring gear, and it got wedged up in there and got hot as we were cruising down the highway in 2018 on our way to Wookiees in the Woods. Did that happen? Yeah, it happened. So this is what a good diff looks like, and this is what the ring gear looks like. Now you have a couple options here. You can weld your diff up, and if you want to weld your diff up, you're going to take a stock diff like this. You're going to take it out. These won't be in there, obviously. These will go through your case, and they'll sit in like so. Now this application applies to both a B5 and a C5, confirmed. I know it works. I've done it. I cannot confirm this on anything other than these two chassis even though I'm quite sure that they are cross-platformed on many levels, because I've seen B6s and a few B7s out there. So moving on. Rear differential. All right, so this is your rear diff as soon as you take it out of the case. You'll buzz those bolts out, so on and so forth. You'll take these out, and you'll be able to get this out. Now, you could do this all in the car. I'm just showing you on the bench. What you'd want to do is you'd want to cut a steel plate. This is the first one I've ever done, and I don't run it anymore for obvious reasons. I broke it. I broke it right there, and I cracked it here, cracked it there, and cracked it there. The only part that actually held on was the welds up here and the welds up here. I've been told that was because of my penetration. That's why it didn't take very well. But I have figured out there's a much better way to do this. If you take and cut a plate to the inside of this diameter right here, you can put that plate in there and then weld to these gears. These gears are a lot softer than this cast iron. Cut your plate, put it in there, weld it to these gears, and this will stay locked in. Then you want to wash this and rinse it off really, really well, because same thing will happen like this. You're going to get a piece of slag imp in there. It's going to be cruising down the highway one day. It's going to get hot, and you're going to weld your rear end together. So you don't want to do that. Personally run a open rear diff in my daily A6. I do that because, well, frankly, it's a lot easier, and I don't want to hear tires squeal all the time. The only socket you're going to need to get this off is a T45, and that's going to be to get these case bolts out here. Okay, you're going to use the same T45 to get to the center diff in your O1E transmission. That is my extra one, and my other extra one. What else is there? Don't worry about things like, there's really no shims to this, so you can just set this in here. The only thing that you'll notice is there's this little cog in there, and I think, where'd it go? Ah, right there. It'll sit down on those two notches. Other than that, you're good. You can take the ring gear off if you want. They are reverse thread, if I remember right. Lefty loosey, righty tighty. Yeah, they're not reverse thread, so they are standard threads, I guess they call it. I want to say these are 17 millimeter. You can take this off, tap it with a hammer right on this outer edge here, and right there all the way around, walk it off, comes right off. If you do take it off, make sure to clean your bolts, make sure to Loctite them, index them, put a little orange hash on them. You can see some of those remnants there. I get my paint pins from the farm store because that's an easy place for them. I know you can get them at welding supply stores and probably a lot of other places. So, with that being said, you put your diff right back in. It'll literally, see if I can get this one to slide in this messed up case here. Might help if I put it in the right direction. Alright, so you just put it back in like that, and your cover goes back on, and all's well that's in well. Put your axles back in, put these cups in. You have to use, I believe it's a 6 millimeter socket, Allen, sorry, on that end. And you'll do it again on this end, and send it. If you want to weld a diff. Let me clarify. You do not have to do this. This is because you want to self-scumbag yourself and do the work to take your diff out and weld it. Other than that, the only other thing you need to do is take care of the center diff. So, this is the center diff segment, which is found inside of the O1E transmission. It's in this back half. So we're going to grab a couple tools and go back to the house now, and I'll show you guys how to service the O1E transmission and make it rear-wheel drive if you want. It's a lot more fun, I promise. Alright, so we're going to move on real quick to the axle shaft before I head to the house. This is a front axle. Okay, this actually might be a rear, but for all intents and purposes, this is your front axle. All you are wanting off of this axle is this piece right here. Why do you want this piece? The reason you want this piece, just the outer section, is because you need to put this back in. You have to put this back in because otherwise your wheel bearing is going to fall apart and you're going to die. Well, maybe you might die, but it's going to hurt. If you look here, got the axle nut back here, and the cup. You can see, still spins. All right. If you look close, I cut it off. If you look where I cut it off here, If you ever taken one of these apart, or when you go to take this apart, there's a bearing race in here. Big old nasty cup. It's got a bunch of little bearings inside of it. I usually have some sitting around here because my sons play with them. And that'll all be inside of here. Before you take this axle apart or anything, clean it up, draw a line with a paint pen right here along this boot. There's a little notch inside there. Sorry, there's also a little notch inside there. You can cut right on that notch, or you can draw a line here and cut it off. If you have some help, you can put it in a chop saw, hold it up right, and zip. But before you do any of that, you want to take the boot, take everything off. There's a little ring right here, okay? And if you take, now I'm going to say this, and I'm going to tell you, I've only had this happen to me once successfully. Usually, it doesn't ever happen that well. But you can take, punch, put it down there, and bop the end of this, and it should knock this retaining clip out here, okay? And this will all come out, and then you can just pieces and everything else apart. There's tons of YouTube videos out there on exactly how to rebuild a CV shaft, so I'm not going to go into it. I'm going into how to destroy it. So once you take that all off and everything, you're going to cut this. Now, you don't have to cut it. Let me say that again. You do not have to cut it. I cut it because I can never get the bearing race and the axle shaft to separate off of themselves. That is the only reason I cut them. Then you can just take the bearing race, the bearings, the center spline, everything out, clean it up, and put it back in the car, like I've done on this one already, okay? This is extremely, extremely, extremely important. Do not forget to do this, all right? That is the difference between you wrecking your car and your wheels staying on the car, because your bearing's being held together by this axle, by this outer CV shaft right here. This whole thing squeezes together and holds your wheel bearing. So I cannot stress enough, don't forget to put it back in. The rear diff is an optional. You can weld it up, you can do the best you think you can at cleaning it so you don't get slag in it and ruin your ring gear, your pinion gear and your ring gear. You do not have to run a welded diff. These cars will slide like whale. Yeah, they'll slide like a whale because they are. It's going to be very lazy. When you go in, you're going to pitch in. It's going to be lazy. It's going to take a while to come around. And if you don't start correcting soon, it's just going to spin out. So just know that. It's a lot of mass to move one of these girls around. With that being said, I think that's about it for right now. We do need to go to the house. I got to get some other things done. I got to get that transmission cleaned. So let's do that. And I don't want to record too much content because I'm trying to see if I can get this video under 10 minutes and keep it straight to the point. Doesn't look like it's going to work so well yet, but we'll try. Take another drink of my fantastic Mountain Dew. I love this stuff. All right, let's go to the house. All right, so we're back. Transmission's out of the garage. I got it here on the ground. We're gonna go get the power washer, but before I get the power washer, I'm gonna soak this down with some degreaser that I have here. You want an electric power washer and you want it to stay running for a long time. The only thing you should turn on first is turn the water on. Do not hit the power button. Don't do anything until you know there's water running all the way through it. No kinks in your hose. Don't even press the button yet. You know the water's on. Go grab the handle. Bleed it, purge it. Let's get some air out of it. Get the water coming through. Then turn the pump on. The electric pumps don't like to be dry. The water is not only a lubricant, but it's also a coolant agent for that pump. So let's clean this thing up now. It's pretty clean. Yeah, some of the paint came off the aluminum, but that's not the end of the world. Take some air, blow the sensor out here, blow this fitting out. I think these are galvanized, but we're gonna spray a little WD-40 on them anyways, just to make sure they don't rust, surface rust especially. And yeah, not too bad, not too bad. All right, so I'm gonna blow this all off. I'm gonna get it back inside the garage there, and then we're gonna go into how the center diff actually comes out of the transmission. Transmission's clean. Everything's clean. I blew it all off. So here's what we're gonna do. We got this T45, and normally there's a shield that bolts on here. I don't have it on mine. I don't like it on mine. I do that mostly because I take this off and service it every time I get a chance. This is a rear-wheel drive 01E. Is you have to take this cover right here off, and we're gonna do it like this. So you got to get all these bolts out at any rate. And now I've gotten a couple extra of these from the junkyard so that I could replace the ones that were short. I mean, the really long. I think it's 2 of them. Just replace them with 2 short bolts, and all is well. They're all the same length, and the only reason that you need the short ones is because of the casing. All right, there we go. So this little piece is spring-loaded. It's gonna pop up, and you're gonna wiggle that up off of there like that. Now, usually, it's not going to just come out that easy, but like I said, I've taken mine out more than once. So we're going to set that down. But once you get that cover off there, then you got to come in here. And there are these shims, right? You want to make sure to keep all these shims together. Don't lose them. Those come off. This is how I like to set stuff so you don't forget which way it goes. Like that. There's a center spring that comes off. You just slide that on that shaft like that. Slide this guy straight up and out. And there you go. There's the center diff. It's really easy to get it out. And the only thing you're going to want to do is you're going to weld it. You're going to weld it across these gear sets here. Bridge these. And bridge in here. Somewhere in there. And then do it again over here. And then boom, you have a welded center diff. So that's how I do it. My welds probably aren't the greatest, but it's been holding fine for this long, and I'm happy with it. After you get the center diff installed, back installed like that, then take your spring, set your spring in. Usually these washers will stay in here, so I'm gonna try to do this with leaving the washers in. And then you take this guy. Oh, there they go. Yeah, they fell. That's okay. I'm just gonna make them round, and then slide. You take some bolts here and get this thing to go back in. I'm gonna have to set the camera down. Right, and that's basically all you gotta do. Now, granted, if the transmission was in the car, hooked up to the motor, you're gonna lose some fluid, right? So, I guess I should show you how to top this thing off just in case. So, this plug down here is the drain plug. There's another plug. Oops, wrong side, Jack, wrong side. Where did it go? Right there. Okay? When this is in the car, it's sitting down on its side, which for visual sakes, I'm gonna go ahead and set the transmission down. Alright, now that it's leaning backwards a little bit here. So the transmission sits like this, right? There's your hole. The fluid, easiest way to do this is to, when the fluid starts to come out of the hole slowly, just seeping over it, that's when you're full. Put the plug back in, send it, you're good. It's completely full. So yeah, when the fluid seeps back out of this hole, that's when the transmission's completely full. 75-90 weight. Just top it off a little bit. It holds approximately 2.75 quarts. That's how I fill it up. Let's do a quick recap here to go over everything one more time. Axles. You have to have this section in there. Alright? I don't care if you want to take and leave all the bearing race and everything in, you can. That's whatever. Have to have that though for the wheel bearing. You're going to have to take the center diff out. Have it welded. Weld it yourself. Something similar to this. Alright? That has to be done. Finally, you don't have to weld the diff. You can leave it open. The car's going to drive just fine. It's actually going to probably drive a little bit smoother for you. I will say that you are going to notice some premature rear bushing wear over time if you decide to do burnouts, things like that. So you want to make sure that everything in your rear end is torqued down and that your bushings in the back end are up to par. If you like what you've seen in this video and you want to see more, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Give me a thumbs up if you liked watching this, and let me know in the comments below if there's anything else about the RwdyAudi taxi that you'd like to know about. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.